You may recognise me from Channel 4's SAS Who Dares Wins, where I was recruit number 6. When the show aired, I shared my story with some of the national newspapers on why I was doing the show. I talked about how I'd been in a domestic abuse relationship, which ended in a domestic abuse court case, all whilst I had a 4-year-old and I was 6 months pregnant. I wanted to go on to show people that you can survive domestic abuse and that you can go on to live a really happy life. So there is hope out there for other people. The police were incredible. There were times before where I had pressed charges but then dropped them. You go home and they tell you that they're sorry and they love you and it won't happen again, and you forgive them. And this happened numerous times, but the police always had so much patience for me, and I'm so glad that they did. Going through that domestic violence court case has made me the person I am today, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. The reason I went on SAS Who Dares Wins, I'd wanted to go on it for so many years, but when I realised women could apply, I put my application in. You can't just think of a story or a sad story to try and get on the show. Just to warn people, you have to provide court papers, you have to provide statements, because otherwise they could be sued if you are making something up. So going on the show, I had to dig up a lot on the past. I just wanted to show my children that mummy is so strong now, not only physically, but mentally too. I wanted to go on there to inspire my children to do great things and to show other women who have been in the same situation as me that you can come out on the other side. Since filming the show, I then went on to qualify as a personal trainer. I am now owner of Recruit 6 boot camps. These are boot camps for ladies only. I do Zooms for ladies only. I wanted to concentrate on women because of the position that I was in. I know how it feels to go into a gym with there's other men. You get really intimidated. So I really wanted to concentrate on women to help build their self-esteem and their confidence and their fitness levels. And since the launch of Recruit 6 in August last year, I am now at full capacity with members, and it's been super successful. So I went out to some of my followers, my amazing Instagram followers, and asked if they had any questions for me that they wanted to ask about my experience and how I survived. Someone asked, are there any warning signs? And yes, there are. There are plenty of warning signs, and it can just start with things like they try and control you. They tell you who you can hang around with. They don't want you to see your family. Maybe they start taking over your social media. They might start accusing you of having affairs. They'll start blaming you for everything, and then they'll start to call you names, they'll swear at you, and they'll start to bully you. It then progresses even worse. It then goes on to maybe a dig in the ribs. They might twist your arm, and then worse still, go into strangling, headbutting, biting, punching and kicking, and even worse. As soon as you see any of those signs, it is definitely time to get out. No man should treat any woman like that. And so you need to recognise those signs, and it will be time to leave. How old was I when I started to experience domestic violence? Well, unfortunately, I was 15. I was in school and I was getting bullied. I was getting bullied for the way I looked, the way I talked, and that's when my confidence started to take a hit. It was just getting chipped away. And someone started to give me some attention. I thought, great, someone likes me. So I just settled with that because I didn't think I was worth anything more. Almost straight away, he showed his true colours. He started to be really abusive with me. He started to hit me. It then progressed even worse to where I would have carpet burns on my face. He almost dislocated my jaw one time. But I thought that's what cards I'd been dealt, and I thought this is the life I have to deal with. 4 years later, I had nothing left in me. I had no energy left to fight. I was just at the bottom of the pit. So I rang my parents, who then lived hundreds and hundreds of miles away. They'd moved to a different part of the country, so I hadn't spoken to them in a year, and they hated my partner because they could see what I couldn't see. So I rebelled and in return disowned them. But again, going back to the warning signs, that is a sure warning sign that you're in a bad relationship, because the partner that you're with will turn you against people that you care about. So I rang my dad, and within a few hours he was there packing up the car and taking me home, and that's how I managed to get out of that relationship. But unfortunately I was still in a really bad place. I still had no confidence, probably the worst it had been. And that's when I then fell into another really bad relationship, which ended in a domestic violence court case. When did I know it was the right time to leave on this occasion? So I'd been with this person for 4 or 5 years. And like I said at the beginning, I'd pressed charges quite a few times, but I was either too scared to follow through with them or I forgave him. The final straw was when we had an argument and I was 6 months pregnant and he started to assault me quite badly in front of my 4-year-old. We managed to escape, and when I got around the corner I had to call an ambulance, who then took me and my son to hospital. It was then whilst I was in the ambulance and I was staring at my beautiful boy's face and realised enough is enough now. I'm 6 months pregnant. My unborn baby's life is in danger. My 4-year-old is now witnessing this. I cannot let this go on any longer. I just thought if I carried on, they would think it was normal. They would grow up to be exactly the same and they would abuse women because they would think that that is what you just do as a man. So I wanted to put a stop to it. I wanted to bring my children up the right way with good morals. So when I got to the hospital, I had to tell my parents, and it was awful. I felt really embarrassed telling my parents that I had been going through a domestic abuse relationship. But I told them. They came and sat with me at the hospital all day and they were so supportive. If I hadn't have told them, I would have gone back. Whilst I was at the hospital, I then had to speak to the police. I had to do a statement. They had to take photos of my injuries. And that's when it came out that I had a problem with my pregnancy. They realised that I had too much fluid around the baby, and whilst I was 6 months pregnant, I was actually showing 8 months pregnant, and they were worried that the baby might be premature. So from 6 months onwards, I had to have weekly scans to make sure I didn't go into premature labour. The court case started, and it was probably the scariest part of the whole 5 years for me. Having to go forward with pressing charges against someone that you're having a child with, someone that's the father of your child, it's just awful. I was scared. I was wondering what they might do to me, the threats. But the court case happened and he pleaded guilty and it was over. My son had been born during this court case. He was now a good couple of months old and it was time to start building my life. Do you truly get over something like this? So everybody is different, but I'm talking about my experience. I was in a really, really bad position for a good few months. I was going through a court case. I was a newly single mother. I'd just given birth. I had the baby blues. I was probably quite depressed at the time, but I didn't want to admit it, and I was lonely. But one day I just woke up and I looked at my 2 children and I thought, I am so blessed. I've got 2 healthy children, I've got a home, I've got a job. I need to dust myself off now, stop moping around and get on with my life. So I started to concentrate on the positive things and be a positive person and set myself goals. I got back into fitness. I started running, I started to lose the weight. My confidence was then beginning to grow, my self-esteem. I decided that I didn't want to date any men or give my number out to any men. So for a few years, I learned to love myself, love my own company, and just concentrate on a life with me and my 2 children, because that's all I needed. So I started to set myself goals, running goals, maybe enter a 5K, maybe do a 10K, and focus on things like that. And that's how I managed to survive and be the person I am today. Do I feel powerful now? I wish. I mean, I'd love to be some sort of superhero, but no, I don't feel powerful now. What I do feel, I feel super confident. Anybody could say anything about me now. They could pick on me about the way I look, but it wouldn't bother me. It really wouldn't, because nobody else's opinion matters to me unless it's my family's opinion. I'm definitely a lot stronger now, not only physically but mentally too. I'm independent. I went through quite a few years of just being with me and my boys, and I realised, I don't need a man to help me. I mean, I'm married now, but I'm really independent now. So most importantly, I'm happy, and I just wanted to be happy. What advice would you give someone who's going through the same situation? I would firstly say talk to someone. Talk to a family member, talk to a good friend, just so you have that support, and don't be embarrassed about talking about it. I would then go and talk to your doctor or your health visitor. There are so many organisations that can help you in the area that you live. They can help you leave, they can protect you, they can keep you safe. There are refuges. There are places that can provide you with clothing, with food, if you have to leave with nothing. There are places that can help you store things, like your passport. And then there are some amazing organisations that you can call, like the National Domestic Abuse Helpline, Men's Advice Line, Mankind. You can also go to Citizens Advice. They are incredible for helping to signpost you to any kind of organisation, so definitely contact your local Citizens Advice. I'm now married to an incredible man who I met 3 years after the court case happened. Not once has my husband ever shouted at me. He's never swore at me. He's never raised his voice. He would never even think about raising his hand at me. He is the kindest gentleman, the softest giant. And that is the kind of person everybody deserves. You all deserve to be treated like a queen. Don't settle for second best. Don't think this is just what the cards have been dealt to you and you have to put up with it. Absolutely not. There are ways out. There are places you can go for safety. There are people that can help you. So I just wanted to show the place that I was in, the things that I have gone through, to the person I am today. It's completely different ends of the scale, and I just want to show that you can be the same. Even though I went through that with 2 boys, I just want to say that my boys have turned into the most incredible, loyal, supportive young men. They are polite, super respectful. They know right from wrong, and they know that the way that you should treat a woman. And now I've got my husband, who is an incredible role model to them, and he's molded them into these lovely young men. And some people message me and they say they feel heartbroken that I went through that. And I always reply, don't feel heartbroken for me, feel happy for me, because I am free from that now and I am in a better place.